So what is Nona Talks? I'm going to go into a little tiny bit more detail. First off, it's annual, so it's going to happen every year. It's going to happen every year in the summer. Chances are it's going to be somewhere around seed, I believe. And then Nona Talks is going to be a one-day event. It's going to be quick, and it's all going to be about conversation. And what are the things that we're going to be talking about, and what are the purpose of doing Nona Talks? We want to build community, generate ideas for what Nona wants to do for the upcoming year, and then educate people. That's one reason why I'm very happy to have these technical briefings, so we can all communicate with each other about what tools are out there that we can use. So, who's doing the talking? When we were kind of trying to, I sat down with Alex and Gavin, and I'm like, okay, who are we pitching Nona Talks to? And we kind of put them into two kind of buckets. So there's the biology bucket, and then there's the software bucket. And biologists come in all different flavors that might be interested in this. Bioinformatics, of course, synthetic biologists, biological engineers, and also computational biologists, mathematical biologists. And in fact, it's interesting, I didn't realize that BU doesn't actually have a program in synthetic biology for undergraduate. And I suspect that many other universities are also like this, which is why a lot of people who are interested in synthetic biology have to go into a related field in order to get that education and background. And then on the software side, again, we want to reach out to computer scientists who are interested in the synthetic biology, what's happening in synthetic biology. App developers, so everybody's looking for new apps to develop, right? Who knows? Maybe there's something that can be done in synthetic biology. Electrical engineers, which is partly Doug's background and many other people. And then people in information technology are also going to be very interested. I mean, if anything, the cells in our body are sort of like a network. There might be something that information technology people can bring to synthetic biology that's a unique perspective. But you want to know something? I kind of think of all of you guys as biology superheroes. And that's based on a TED Talk that I saw, where basically they were like, engineering life is one of the true superpowers that we have right now. Oops. So what is Nona? It was founded in 2013. It's a public charity. It's not a private foundation. So we rely on donations and government grants as well as corporate partners. And then it was founded because there's a lot of software being made in academia, in industry, just by people in general. But there's really no place that brings all of this together in one place. And it's starting to get more and more complex. So we're trying to address that complexity. And then there's our mission statement. That's our official statement to the IRS to say this is why we exist. And then, of course, our software tools have impact in several different areas: healthcare, energy generation, chemical manufacturing. And then just sort of these last two are sort of, we have a responsibility as scientists and engineers to our planet and to other people. So we always have to keep in mind everything that we do has an ethical dimension to it. So what are our goals? So we have this sort of planets interacting, I guess. So we want to distribute user-created software tools. That's, sort of step one. Step two, educate people about those tools and about synthetic biology in general. Step three, hopefully we now have a lot of people who are interested in it, and we're going to create a community where all of this software can be exchanged and reviewed and hopefully built upon. So what's our philosophy? What are we going to do? We want to support an interdisciplinary selection of users and people who are involved. So like I said, it's people from biology, people from computer science, even people who might not be either. of that. A lot of app developers don't have any formal training in software at all. So we want to bring a lot of people in to bear upon these problems. We want to, of course, encourage people to use the tools that are on Nona's website and also create more of that content. It could be documentation, it could be software tools itself. And then, of course, we want to encourage the core principles of synthetic biology, which are standards, modularity, sharing, openness, and creativity. So how are we going to do this? We have sort of this AAA kind of thing, which is create awareness. So we're going to do some research, have videos like this video, for example, as well as hopefully have the SynBio Trails curriculum up at some point. Do user group meetings like this. And we have a blog, and then also we're present on multiple social media outlets. Second A is access. We want to archive those tools. We want to enforce some kind of source code control and bug tracking. So this is just sort of the quality aspect of deploying software. And then we also can host software, and then we hope to have a nice search engine so that you can find software easily. And then the third A is assessment. So we want to have coding and documentation standards, and then eventually develop a peer rating system. And one of the ways that I think about this is there are sort of two rating systems that you could come up with. There's sort of the crowdsource, where everybody gets to vote, and you might get a crowd favorite. And then what we'd like to do is develop a small core group of people who can, who are part of, either informally or formally part of Nona, that's sort of like we assess according to these criteria. And this is your scorecard based on that criteria. So you'll have two rating systems, two sort of ranks for each piece of software. So how to work with us? First, you have to choose a license, and it has to be open source for us to be able to have it on our website. We are happy to be able to point people towards non-open source software. However, it can't formally be part, since it's not part of our mission. And there are ways that we can get around that. And then this is the process to submit the software. Once you identify the license type, then you provide a GitHub link or wherever your source code is kept. Could be SourceForge. Provide documentation, choose your search tags. So that's sort of the initial contact that you would make with Nona. Then you have a conversation with us, and then you'll get to the point where you're ready to transfer it. We can either host it, or we can just link to your web page. Then we activate your software, and then hopefully we can start recruiting people to come and look at this software and comment on it, use it, maybe add to it, for example. And you'll see a preview of what we want to do with the software pages. So this is briefly Nona's team. The people along the bottom, those people are all our board members. So Abhi is our treasurer slash, our secretary slash clerk. And he's at the Wyss Institute at Harvard. Although I think he's just about to finish up his postdoc, so I know he's looking for his next position. Brian is our treasurer. He works for Raytheon in Tewksbury, Massachusetts. Chris Voigt, of course, is from MIT. He's also on our board. And Chris Anderson, who has taken a sabbatical from UC Berkeley to run his own synthetic biology company called 20N. He's also on our board. And then you know those two people over there, hopefully. Holly Million is she's helping us out with fundraising. And then you've met our two interns, Alex and Gavin. How am I doing on time? So this is sort of a snapshot of where we are today. These are just some of the tools that we have. Sorry about the little design glitches. We tend to bucket all of our software into 5 different buckets. We might develop more buckets later, but this is just the standard specification, design, build, test, iterate design cycle. So two of the tools that we link to right now are Cello and Eugene. For the design tools, we currently have Raven. We will have Fluigi soon, and Double Dutch soon. And then we're in talks to also get Tinkercell, which is another design program out of University of Washington. We're going to have Puppeteer on the build side and Phoenix on the test side. And then, of course, for data management and to sort of provide an infrastructure, a backbone, we have Clotho. Clotho, Cello, and Eugene are all trademarks of Nona. So our capabilities right now, we have a Nona GitHub account. We also have trademarked 3 of the pieces of software, and we're open to possibly trademarking other open source packages if that makes sense. We also have data links that we can provide. So for example, put parts in some sort of other repository or other parts database. And then one thing that I'm hoping to solicit at this stage is we want to identify a list of asks for all of the stuff that we currently have. So what types of documentation are lacking right now from our various projects? Are there particular features or areas of code that people have a lot of concern about or really like? And of course, we want to help people find team members to continually update that code. So yeah, we're like, what do you want Nona to do? And then this is, I think, the last slide. So where does Nona fit in sort of the whole big landscape of all the different nonprofits? You know, there are, for nonprofits, you have iGEM, you have BioBricks, you have the Synthetic Biology Project. So there are lots of different organizations besides just academic organizations or industry members. So where does, Nona has sort of an interesting little space in there. Our focus is exclusively on software. So that makes us different from things like iGEM or BioBricks or AdGene, for example. And we're hoping that by concentrating on software, we can get centralization of, you know, bringing everything in one place. We can hopefully encourage modularity in all the software so that they can be configured in multiple workflows. And you get the power of specialization where if we're just focused on software, it's a little bit easier for us to understand what it is that our goals are. We're not, you know, sort of chasing 5 million different concepts. And also, hopefully, once you do specialization, if you get that right, you can scale it pretty quickly. Nona, of course, has sort of an informal norms-based governance. We like taking lots of, we like taking input from the community, and we're trying to be as flexible as we can be to respond to that community. We don't want to be like, okay, this is the way that you have to do things, and there's no negotiation. We want this to be very much collaborative. We're hoping to get together over the next 6 months, sort of a technical governance team that will not necessarily be Nona people. But if you're interested, we're looking. And this informal-based governance is great because it means that as things change, and they change pretty rapidly in a new field like synthetic biology, we can try to adapt. So that's what we're trying to accomplish. We are independent. We are not part of Boston University. We are not part of any company. And that independence hopefully means that people don't feel like they have to be locked in to one particular set of grant structures, for instance. I know that now eBerk has spun out away from UC Berkeley, which I think everybody thinks is a good thing ultimately, and ensures more independence. we're like that too. And then of course we want to be a big tent. We want to encourage everyone to come in and look at our material, comment on it, contact the people who work here. We want to really encourage a lot of non-traditional input from people who maybe are not necessarily even affiliated with any particular institution. So like biohackers, DIY bio people. We want to be really open. And then we want to, by that, encourage a lot of diversity.